want to begin by saying congratulations, Mr. Border Czar. Zero. I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams, not in my lifetime or any lifetime of anyone watching, has seen the border crossings for criminal aliens at zero. Congratulations.
God, like, we got the most secure border in the history of the nation right now because of President Trump's leadership. I knew, we could quickly secure the border once we got back into power. But the speed that happened, in 7 weeks, we had border crossing down over 90%. That's unprecedented. So today we got the most secure border in the history of the nation. And now we're concentrating on those who got through or were released the past 4 years, that we find them and remove them. So a lot of concentration right now in interior enforcement operations.
Just digging down one layer there, can you please explain that strategy? We have the numbers right here. Last year, there were 62,000 criminal aliens crossing in the exact same month. 365 days later, zero. How did this happen, Mr. Borzar?
Because we're enforcing the law. We decided from day one, all you got to do is enforce the law. Look, Joe Biden could have done this if he just enforced the existing law. Catch and release. The federal statute clearly says if you arrive at our border and you don't have proper documentation to enter our country, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, release them to an NGO. No, you're going to be detained. What we did, we ended catch and release altogether. We put the third safe country agreement back in place. We got the remain in Mexico. It was implemented within days. So we simply did what we did in Trump 45, except we did it quicker. We learned all the lessons from Trump 45, mistakes that were made, things we could have done better. So this time, it moved quicker, but we basically enforce law. The answer is enforce the law. You don't need Congress to pass a bunch of laws. It'd be great if they did to make it permanent, so next president can't come in and undo it. But Joe Biden could have done this. All you had to do is enforce the law. He didn't have to make this up. So that's how we did it. Everybody said, what's the secret? The secret is we enforce the law. We ended catch and release. We send a message to the whole world. If you come to the United States illegally, you're not being released. If you want to claim asylum, fine. You wait in Mexico, claim asylum. When your hearing comes, you can have your hearing. But no longer are you going to be released to the United States to not show up in court. No longer are you going to be released to the United States to maybe show up in court, get order removal, which 90% of asylum seekers end up with an order removal. Then they're in the wind. You can't find them. We ended that. We have the most secure border in the history of this nation, and it's incredible how quick the men and women of the Border Patrol, I give them the credit. They're out there every day enforcing law. They're finally getting to do the job they took an oath to do, rather than processing people for release, taking them to the airport and sending them to their final destination at taxpayer expense. Those days are over.
Let's talk really quickly about the excellent agents of ICE. Turns out right now that CNN is pushing an app to track ICE agents to help criminal aliens evade being detained. We have the article up right here along with the clip. What's your response to CNN?
It's disgusting. I cannot believe we're in a world where the men and women who enforce the law are the bad guys, and one who broke the law, they're victims. And look, it's already a dangerous job. ICE agents are arresting the worst of the worst. President Trump committed from day one. We're going to concentrate our effort on public safety threats and national security threats. So right there, the job's already dangerous. But when you're out there tracking ICE movements and giving people a heads up they're coming, that just puts the danger at a whole new level. It's only a matter of time for someone sits in hiding and waits for an ICE agent and tries to take them out. This is horrendous that a national media outlet will be out there trying to forecast law enforcement operations throughout the country. It's incredible where we're at as a nation, and I think DOJ needs to look at this and see if they're crossing that line. I think we need to send a strong message that we need to protect our law enforcement personnel.
You're accessory to murder. If you know that a crime is going to go on, you don't do anything to stop it. You assist in the evasion of the murderer and the criminal. You can be an accessory. You can go and do some real hard time. How does this not make CNN and everybody who does this, because there are other accounts that track ICE and try and rat on where ICE is and what they're doing? We saw the bricks, sticks, rocks, and Molotov cocktails being thrown at your agents to murder. It was intended murder. It was attempted murder, what we saw in LA. We have the footage. You can see it clear as day. It's attempted murder. Thankfully, many of them are arrested. But Mr. Holman, how is CNN not assisting an accessory to these crimes, these criminal aliens?
Well, look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think, I'm not a prosecutor. I'm the board czar, but I think DOJ is looking at it. DOJ, we had, I think, the last count over 600 arrests in LA. The federal government has prosecuted people for assaulting ICE agents. We prosecuted people for doxing agents. So DOJ is on top of this. So I think DOJ will come to the point where these people will be held accountable. It takes a little bit, but I know Pam Bondi's all over it. I know Kash Patel is actually working with ICE leadership to search those people who put death threats, not only myself, but women of ICE. So they're all over it. And President Trump's leading into it. And I met President Trump last week. He's given all available resources to hold these people accountable.
News broke yesterday evening, late in the evening, Mr. Bordazar, that President Trump will be personally visiting what is named Alligator Alcatraz, not too far from where we broadcast here in the state of Florida. Can you preview that for us? That's quite a deterrence. You talk about deterrence in your opening answer. Being surrounded by a bunch of alligators in a swamp, in a mosquito-infested Florida swamp, that's a hell of a deterrence right there.
Yeah, not only that, I think the cost of the facility is really reasonable, because even though we're asking for more money than the big beautiful bill, we're trying to spread that money as far and wide as we can to get in a decent bed rate, because we pay a lot for beds. And Governor DeSantis, let me give Governor a shout out for Governor DeSantis. From day one, he's been lockstep with us. I mean, he has required through legislation, state law, that every sheriff and chief of police work with ICE. They're not allowed, to walk away from us. I've said many times, well, we can send more resources to sanctuary cities like New York and less resources in Florida when we get every sheriff working with us in Florida. We don't have public safety threats being released from county jails every day in Florida. So where do we got to send more resources to New York City, where they're knowingly releasing public safety threats back in the community? So Governor DeSantis has been up front. He's a tip of the spear on all the governors helping. I mean, the Texas Governor Abbott's doing a great job. Governor DeSantis has been amazing, and they're building this with their funds. Of course, there'll be a reimbursement. The money that we used to give to NGOs and hotels, how these aliens at $500 a night being spent on Alligator Alcatraz is the right thing to do. And you're right. The near knowledge of these people being detained, that you can escape, try to escape, but it's not a real good idea. I mean, that just adds a stronger message to the whole world that you can't enter this country legally. It's a crime. If we catch you, you're going to be detained, you're going to be deported, and detention is going to be in places like Alligator Alcatraz and El Salvador and other countries that aren't so friendly. So we're going to do everything we can to send a strong message. It's not okay to break the laws of this country. We're going to hold you accountable.
I know that you've worked with President Trump for decades now. You've helped him architect this. You've been so loyal by his side. You know President Trump to be a man of his word. There was a 2019 New York Times article where Donald Trump floated the idea of putting alligators or crocodiles in the Rio Grande in order to prevent people from crossing the border. We remember that article because we thought it was a kick-ass idea. And now you're getting Donald Trump's dream is actually happening. The memes are incredible, by the way. This one's from Homeland Security. This is an official Homeland Security posted meme. This now goes into the congressional record as an official government document. Alligators with ice hats on. Quite a timeline, Mr. Bordazar.
Yeah, and all the people that question, is going too far. I think all these people that question that need to remember what we dealt with the last 4 years. We know of 10.5 million illegal aliens came to our border. Millions were released in the United States in violation of federal law. I remember what I said. In violation of federal law, they released millions into the country because they're playing the long game. They said, well, these millions of people will be future Democratic voters, or these millions of people will be counted in the next census. Remember, Joe Biden overturned the Trump census rule. They'll be counted next census, which means more seats in the House for the Dems. They sold this country off for future political power. I want people to remember the images of 15,000 people crossing the border in a day. Yes. Now we're down to less than 100, and zero are being released. Zero. You look at from January 20th to now, last year, Biden administration released over 260,000. What did we release? One, and that was a humanitarian case because I can't get in a specific case, but one compared to over 200,000. And I think since the beginning of the year, we released a total of 9 people. Here's what people need to know. 4 of them were material witnesses. We wanted them to be released to testify in the cartel hearings. 4, we had to call emergency medical transport because they're in such bad shape. But after they got treated, they were removed. One discretionary release since January 20th. And I can't get a specific of that case, but I'm aware of that case. And I agree 100% it had to be done. 1 compared to 250,000. That's what President Trump has done to our border. We're a sovereign nation. President Trump commits to protecting our sovereignty as a nation. And look at the crime rate dropping right now. Because we're concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats, crime rates are dropping. We looked at the numbers this morning. We're about over 130,000 illegal aliens arrested in the interior United States, vast majority being criminal. I see these media stories saying, well, the vast majority aren't criminal. It's garbage. If we arrest people, most of them are convicted criminals, or they're pending criminal charges, which means we found them in the county jail, which means they're probably not a choir boy. But the media keeps telling this false story. Every day we arrest a public safety threat removing from the streets, makes that country safer again. Already, Iranian nationals arrested, we're nearly 100. So the men and women of ICE, patriots, they're doing exactly what President Trump said they're going to do. National security threats and public safety threats. This should be a nonpartisan issue. I don't care if you're a Democrat mayor, a Democrat city council person, a Democrat governor. Why would you not want public safety threats and national security threats removed from your community? That is your number one responsibility, to protect your communities. But they're putting politics over public safety. They hate Trump more than they love their communities. There's no other reason for it.
Profound statement. Your last answer, you brought up how many resources have to flood into New York to fix the nightmare that is New York City. And it seems like it's going to get worse, Mr. Bordazar. Zorhan Mandami called you out by name and said that he will personally stop ICE from arresting criminal aliens in New York City. This was in his acceptance speech for the Democrat nomination for mayor. Your response to Zorhan Mandami?
Good luck with that. I mean, bottom line is we're not only going to double down, we're going to triple down in New York. Because I just said a few minutes ago, we know they're releasing public safety threats every day in New York City. We know they're releasing national security threats. So look, we know there's a problem there because we know what they're doing. So we're going to send more resources to New York City. So to him, I would say you're going to see a vast increase in the officers in your community. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the jail, if we can't arrest a bad guy in Rikers Island, you're going to release him in the community, then that's where we're going to send our workforce. But rather than one agent arresting one bad guy at Rikers Island, we got to send the whole team now to the community to find him. And we're going to send more teams. So if we can't get in the jails, we're going to flood the communities. And we're also going to flood worksite. If we can't get them at their home, we'll get them at the worksite. So sanctuary cities get exactly what they don't want. More agents in your community and more worksite enforcement operations. You could help us. You could let us in a county jail so one agent can arrest one bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, which is safer for the alien, safer for the officer, much safer for the community. But if he thinks he's going to stop ICE enforcement operation, we'll see. Game on. But you're going to see us flood New York City.
The reason, of course, that this carries so much weight with it is because we watched members of Congress, Democrat members of Congress, LaMonica McIver is one of them, physically fight and assault your agents. These are elected representatives that were throwing elbows, pushing, shoving, clawing at your agent. It's all on TV. It's all on. We have the footage. We have the body cam footage from DHS. It's horrible. And then you see, of course, what happens in Los Angeles, where it seems like Democrat leadership was absolving and protecting the people who are trying to murder your agents. It's attempted murder when you throw a brick at a speeding ICE vehicle, obviously.
Well, look, I said from day one, Ben. I said from day one, you can not like ICE, fine. You cannot support the president's policies, okay, fine, whatever, shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't cross the line on knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien. You can't cross that line of impeding a federal law enforcement officer in performance of his duties. You certainly can't cross the line and put your hands on an ICE officer. And as you can see, I wasn't bluffing. We are prosecuting a couple of judges. We are prosecuting members of Congress. We're prosecuting many members of the public. It's not a threat. It's a promise. You cross that line, you be prosecuted. For 4 years, all you heard from the left was no one's above the law. President Trump's not above the law. Needs to be held accountable. Guess what? They're not above the law either. You cross that line, we're going to seek prosecution. Zero tolerance. You put a hand on an ICE officer, zero tolerance. We will seek prosecution. You'll be held to the highest standard. Because, again, the most dangerous job is being a law enforcement officer. And it's even more dangerous when you got people out there, forecasting where ICE is going to go in the next hour. Where are they at right now trying to serve warrants? The whole Los Angeles episode it started because we were serving 3 criminal search warrants. It wasn't an immigration raid at all. We were serving 3 criminal search warrants on a money laundering case, a tax evasion case, and customs fraud case. And of course, when we got to that garment district, we did find illegal aliens in the site. We did a search warrant. Yeah, of course they're going to be arrested. We're going to force the law. But it was all mismessaged by the left. And I want to just make it clear to all those on the left, all those Democratic representatives in Congress, you're not going to stop us. We're going to do this job. I'm not going anywhere. I got death threats. I have 1,000 protesters at my house. Fine. You want to protest an empty house? Have at it. Tom Homan isn't going anywhere. It's the men and women of ICE aren't going anywhere. We'll be there today. We're going to be there tomorrow. We got over 100 teams in LA operating right now. We got over 100 teams in New York City operating right now. We're going to double or at least triple that number. So ICE is not going to be bullied for not doing the job. You can attack them all you want. I hate to see that, but if you cross the line, you'll be prosecuted. You can show up and protest all you want. You have the right to protest. You have that. I support the Second Amendment, but you can't, First Amendment, but you can't cross that line. And we're going to hold people accountable. ICE isn't going anywhere. So we're going to keep doing this job. We're proud of the job we're doing, and we're going to keep doing it every single day across this country because, again, every day we do this job, the community's much safer. And you already see the numbers. Fentanyl seizures are decreased over 50%. Sex trafficking is down tenfold. We were making a difference. No suspected terrorists coming across the country, 0. We had over 400 on Joe Biden. What we've had since President Trump's been in office, 0. We're going to force the law. Exercise your First Amendment rights all you want, but don't cross that line, or we will hold you accountable.
Just one final question, Mr. Borzar, and it has to do with the region of New York and somebody who's in the news a lot lately because she's most likely planning on running for higher office. It'd be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC has come and what looks like to us crossed the line a number of times, but 2 very curious stories out of her office. One, as soon as you were able to regain your position as border czar, AOC had a criminal alien who was working in her congressional staff flee the country. Now, I can't quite square how that's possible. How is somebody allowed to be a criminal alien in this country and then go work in Congress where you have access to classified material and you have access to a lot of important information? And then AOC has gone on and obviously taught publicly illegal aliens how to avoid ICE. She's done this with some of her colleagues in the squad. Here's the article of the criminal alien staffer that AOC had on staff. Maybe you could just start here and as an explainer to me and to this audience, like how's this even possible?
It's not possible, and I know that's being looked at. I can't comment on past that. I'm aware of it. We've asked ICE to drill in on that case. It's my information that there were actually I can't really comment on it. We don't know if it was illegal status or not at this point. It looks like it might have been temporary status, but I can't comment on the case because it's under investigation. Mm-hmm. As far as her educating people how to evade ICE arrest, she's really educating them on how to be prosecuted because there are statutes on the books, federal statute, when you knowingly hinder your removal, that's a crime. When you take steps to prevent your removal after being ordered removed by a federal judge, it's a crime. We have instructed ICE to start prosecuting these cases. If you don't want to open the door, and we have a final order removal, if you don't want to participate in getting travel documents from your home nation, you take steps to hinder your own removal, that it's a crime, you'll be prosecuted. So she can claim she's educating people to constitutional rights. I'd argue she's educating many people on how to be prosecuted. You're going to see that happening.
All right. Well, we're looking We're very much looking forward to it. You've been a man of your word. Our audience deeply respects your work and is thankful for you, Mr. Border Czar. Here is where you can follow Thomas D. Homan. 750,000 Americans already do. He's on his way to 1 million. Let's make sure that he gets 1 million on X and that he gets 1 million deportations this year. Are we still on track, Mr. Border Czar? Last question.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we have arrested and deported about 3 times more criminals than Joe Biden has already. And as far as X, yeah, at Real Time Homan, there are a couple of fake accounts out there. People are claiming me, but at Real Time Home, that's where you find me. You have the White House. There's a White House emblem. I'm certified. So, yeah, to keep track. I don't post a lot. I'm a little busy. I was asked last week, "Are you growing a beard?" I said, "No, I don't have time to shave." I found time this weekend. I find time this weekend. So, look, God bless President Trump. God bless the men and women of ICE, and God bless the men and women wearing that green uniform on the southern border. 3 o'clock this morning, I was sleeping. You were probably sleeping. We had men and women standing on the line on our southern border, the most secure border in the history of this nation today. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol.
Godspeed, Mr. Border Czar. We are with you.
Thanks for having me.